Army troops have been deployed to rescue millions of people left stranded after devastating floods wreaked havoc in northeastern India and Bangladesh. Dozens of others have died in the relentless downpours over the past 5 days. So let's get a clear indication of exactly how are things looking at this hour in India and Bangladesh. We speak now to Prasad Kunduri, who's a journalist and former senior associate editor for the Tribune India. He joins us live now from Mumbai. Prasad, thank you so much for your time this morning. But can we just shed some light in terms of exactly how have the floods actually affected Bangladesh, I know parts of India, northeastern side, and the like? What's happening on the ground?
Good morning, Preet, and to all the viewers on a Sunday morning. The news is not good, certainly. The floods caused by rains, as you mentioned, last 5 days, have really created havoc. Almost 3 million people in India's northeastern states of Assam and parts of Meghalaya are affected. As you rightly said, Bangladesh too has been affected. And that's primarily the reason is the Brahmaputra river, which starts somewhere in Tibet and China and comes down via India and goes through Bangladesh. And now that is a river which is one of the fifth largest and probably the 15th longest river in the world. So the floods and the tributaries of that river in particular is what is causing major damage, causing life to be uprooted, right?
Yeah. I mean, Prasad, as we're speaking right now, I read the latest report saying that there were about 41 or so people that have been declared dead. Has that figure risen of late? Is that figure still sitting at about 41?
Yeah. As of Saturday, the state disaster response force, which has been out in the field, out to rescue people, has given the figure as 62. We hope the toll doesn't rise, but considering the fact that the floods are still going on, rains are insistent, so we only hope and pray. And not just the state disaster response force, but the national disaster response force is also lending support to ensure that people and the state government has moved a lot of people to safety, have operated camps where they are located. But then such as a flow of water you can just see on your screen, it's really causing a lot of trouble there.
Yeah. I mean, there's also just some indication that an entire village, for example, has actually gone underwater as a result of this flooding. Is government able to contain the situation and provide the resources necessary? And also understand that schools are being used as shelters at this moment, just simply because of the number of people that have been displaced. But how is government actually coping with all of this, Prasad?
Well, one thing is that at this part of time when monsoons are a regular phenomena, and one thing has always been said of Assam in particular, and also the states falling across the river Brahmaputra, is that Brahmaputra is both the boon and also the bane. Boon because it gives water to drink. Of course, when the waters rise, as we see right now, it creates a problem for people. And this is something which is recurrent, but then a long-term solution has not been found because it involves, as I said, one of the largest movement of the rivers, almost 15th largest in terms of its length. So there are issues out there, but then governments are trying to cope up with this, trying to provide relief, taking people to safety and shelter. And as for the villages, you said 4,000 plus villages are affected. 32 districts in Assam itself are affected. So as I said, 3 million people are displaced. So you can imagine it's a huge area, huge tackling the government has to do on a war footing.
Yeah. You know, as you're speaking right now, do we actually have an actual figure on how many people have been displaced at present?
As I mentioned, some 3 million people are affected. So the numbers, as I said, is because 4,000 plus villages, in fact, 4,200 villages is what we have here are affected by the floods. So the numbers stand where they are. We might get an update towards later part of the day because governments are busy trying to rescue people. The Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, yesterday spoke to the State Chief Minister, Mr. Sharma, very early in the morning, promising all help and ensuring safety to people. It's a big task.
Yeah. It also brings about a conversation around climate change. Though monsoons are not necessarily a new phenomena, we experience it time and time again, especially in various parts of the globe. But the frequency within which this is all happening, as well as the depthness or the severity of it, becomes one where we need to have a broader conversation about the impact of climate change. Is the Indian government actually taking into mind just the need now and the urgency around to have conversations of climate change? What is it that we can contain the situation even better? Because to talk about millions of people being displaced is not something that we can take lightly.
Very right. And I think the government of India and the people of India are acutely aware of the fact that climate change is creating havoc, not just for India, but for the whole planet. And in fact, India has been forefront of trying to set up goals to contribute towards the environment and create a better conditions for people to live. Because everybody has one earth, and we know we have to, the people who are going to inherit from us will have to be given a safer world. Having said that, this is a conversation that's been happening for almost, if I tell you, since 1992, when we had the Earth Summit. And incrementally, governments of the day are putting things in perspective for people to understand. For instance, it may not be related, for instance, but India has said, okay, first single-use plastic will be discarded after a certain point of time. We are going towards net neutrality, carbon neutrality, and so on and so forth. Increasingly, steps are being taken. But this is something which is incremental in nature. People will cooperate. But then the severity, as you rightly pointed out, climate change is hitting us in unknown places and unseasonal. While this, as I mentioned to you, is the monsoon time in India, but the severity of this is always an issue. And this is when environmentalists knock the doors and tell us, listen, what can we do about it? Please think about it.
Sure. Yeah, it definitely does deserve the global economy also paying mind to it, because, I mean, speaking about which, surely millions and millions of dollars are being lost now because of this cleanup operation, which we'll have to now incur as a result of this flooding that we're facing.
Yes, and one of the biggest thing is the lot of cropland, crops which will have to be grown are submerged in the water. So that will lead to its own issues, because apart from erosion of soil, there'll be salinity and other issues that might come up, not necessarily salinity, but other issues that will come up. So governments of the day will have to handhold with the people to try and see to come out of the situation, because very soon after the monsoon season is over, we'll go for a new crop, both for food grains and also for vegetables and other issues. So I think this is something which people are looking at. And this is a regular phenomenon. As I said, monsoon and floods are a recurrent phenomena. But the severity, it is what is different.
Yeah. Prasad, we'll leave it there for now, but thank you very much for that, update in terms of exactly how matters standing when it comes to India, as well as Bangladesh and other areas which have been affected by these floods, also monsoons around this time around. But of course,